What the heck happened here, right? I mean, the Rangers have done well against the Astros really all season this year, and we thought that with just needing one win to secure the season series, that the Rangers would certainly do that, especially the way the pitching rotation matched up against these Astros, and somehow it's just galling that the Rangers were swept by the Astros. And one of the things that's most annoying about it, I suppose, for me anyway, is that their best players were better today and in this series than our best players, right? And you need your best players to be your best players at this time of year. Jeremy Pena was ridiculous throughout the entire series, and it was a fitting end to the series that he made a spectacular play for that final out to get who was that? That was Josh Young at the plate there. So anyway, Jeremy Pena, silly good. He had the home run tonight and the double to lead off the game against Jacob deGrom. Look, it was the top of their order. It was their best players. It was Pena. It was Correa. It was Altuve. It was Pena again, right? That did in the Rangers and did in Jacob deGrom. He had to throw 35 pitches in that first inning. And the amazing thing is Jacob deGrom was throwing, really into it. Like, it's not like at 165 or 67 or whatever innings he's at now. It's not like Jacob deGrom, has, he's run out of gas or this is too many innings compared to. No, Jacob deGrom, he must have thrown after that single in the first that scored the 2 runs. He must have thrown 5 or 6 straight pitches that were 99. He was good enough, but they were better, and not just in this game tonight, but in the entire series. They figured out a way to get to Merrill Kelly last night, and the Rangers lost that game. Again, valiant comeback, but they got so far behind against the bullpen of the Houston Astros, and Monday night too. They're facing a starter who you're just not expecting to do those kinds of things, even against Jack Leiter, and certainly not against this Rangers offense. So just a very, very frustrating series for the Rangers. And once again, the Astros do figure out a way to get it done. I suppose that, when all the dust settles and the anger settles, you might say, man, that's just the Astros being the Astros. But for now, it doesn't feel like that. You want the Rangers to be that, right? You want the Rangers. Chris Young wants the Rangers to be that team like the Astros that now still have a chance. They're going to make the playoffs for the 9th straight year, and they've got a chance still. In fact, they've moved back into first place by virtue of the sweep in the American League West, and the Astros have a chance to win the division for the 8th straight year. It's really amazing what they've put together, especially when you consider all the losses that they've had, when you consider statistics like the fact that Dave and Mike were talking about during the game today. They've used 36 pitchers this year. That's how decimated their pitching rotation and their pitching staff has been by injuries. In the first game of this series, they lose Yordan Alvarez, a huge part of their offense. And other guys just come in and step up. It was Zach Cole that day on Monday, but it's been somebody else every other day, and it's been Jeremy Pena every other day too. He's been unbelievable. Correa, he's a different guy when he plays for the Astros than he did even for the Twins. He was good with the Twins. He's great. He's great with the Astros. It showed again tonight. And yeah, how do we go from being World Series champions, Rarities asked, to this the past 2 seasons? It's hard to figure. And tonight, frankly, to me, looked very similar to so many games that we've seen over the past 2 seasons, whether it is whether it is pressing or whether it is, I don't know what, but the offense disappears, right? I mean, credit in the second inning, to the really, obviously, to the Little Rascals. Osuna gets the first hit off Javier with a single with one out in the second inning, followed by that double by Josh Young that scores him, and then another single by Cody Freeman that brought Josh Young home. So, but that was it. That was the extent of the offense. And, Rowdy Tellez had a hit. Jock Peterson had a hit later in the game. But the Rangers never put anything together. And it begs the question. And look, mathematically, the Rangers aren't out of this thing. I said, though, in the headline that I wrote for the program, this wasn't a do or die game, but it sure feels like the Rangers' playoff hopes are dead. Obviously, mathematics says that the playoff hopes are not dead. And so, we'll keep following that. And I know you will too. But the reality is, it feels like the Rangers' playoff hopes died right there in Houston tonight. And so, you say, well, why and how and what next? Jeff and I have talked, when we thought they were started to bury them after the road trip to Toronto and Kansas City. And even before that, we began talking about how this offense has to look different. It has to be comprised different next year, right? There have got to be more guys like those guys, those little rascals that came through in such a big way, who will, get on base in various different ways, right? It can't just be slug or nothing. There's got to be a number of different ways. Evan Grant tweeted out tonight a shot of a base hit bunt that the Rangers had earlier, I think in the series, but maybe it was earlier in the season, just saying, I'm doing this for posterity because I want people in the future to know that the Rangers know how to do this, but it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up very often at all. And, again, Jose Altuve bunted last night. They were wondering when he came up in the first inning, they were wondering with runners on first and second if he was going to bunt again. This guy's a future Hall of Famer and a batting champion formerly and all the things that he does. And they wondered, and he did it last night. So it wasn't like some sort of crazy musing. It was something that could have happened. Altuve adds that home run, a 2-run bomb in the third inning. That one felt like the death blow because after the Rangers tied it up at 2, you felt like, okay, all right. And then once he did that, it really seemed like it was going to be. And then after the 35-pitch first inning, Jacob deGrom in that third needed another 21. And despite the 8-pitch second inning, that pretty much signaled that Jacob deGrom was not going to be able to go past the 5th inning tonight. Leadoff hitter in that 5th, Jeremy Pena. Yeah, home run. Barely got out in right field, but it was a home run just the same. And both ways, left and to the short area of right, it's pretty easy. It's relatively easy to hit the ball out at that ballpark. And so, obviously Altuve put a charge into his, but it was the Crawford boxes, and then Pena's home run just got out to right field. So and now questions begin, and we may get some answers. Jeff, by the way, is working the clubhouse there in Houston, and he's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. The Queen Cat is there taking care of all this for us tonight. We appreciate her. And we want you to put this behind you for 5 seconds and think about others who are in need, right? Put your charitable side forward. Tomorrow is North Texas Giving Day, but you could start tonight by giving to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, our partner. We're so proud to be partners with them, and we would love for you to hit that button where you normally would do a snap or a super chat, and then hit that button. And tonight and the rest of this week, it will be a donation to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Dallas. So we want to raise some money. We also want to raise awareness and remind you that it is not difficult for you to become a big brother or a big sister, and there's always a need, and it somehow seems like you'll have a lot of time in October to do that, because it appears that, even if the Rangers make the playoffs, it doesn't have the feeling of a team that would have a long run. If they made it right now, which again, they'd have to climb Cleveland, they'd have to go play a 2-game series in Houston, in that first round. So how would that be? Yeah, that and again, Seattle or Houston, either one. Those would be probably the two choices as those two battle it out, right? For the supremacy in the American League West down the stretch here. The Mariners did lose tonight, in addition to the Astros winning. Mariners lost in Kansas City. It's their first in 11 games, and amazingly, the Guardians won again in Detroit. They just seem to have the Tigers' number. And so they won. They've now won 2 in a row in Detroit. They got a chance to sweep that series against the Tigers. And I'll tell you this, the Guardians at this point aren't thinking about the wild card. Right now, the Guardians are thinking about the division. Believe it or not, they're back to within 4.5 games of the Tigers in that American League Central Division. So, that one bears watching, because there's another series between these two teams, and it's in Cleveland. The Guardians have already won the series that's in Detroit, and like I say, they're going to try to go for that sweep tomorrow. So the last week, thankfully, will still be very intriguing. It'll still be very fun. The homestand should be fun, because it's two teams that the Rangers, should beat, and they've done a good job beating the teams that they should beat, and it's Miami and Minnesota. So, again, string together another 5-1 homestand, and who knows, maybe win 2 out of 3 or all 3 down there, over there, up there, wherever in Cleveland. And the next thing you know, if they finish the season 8-1, they will have re-entered the playoff picture. Again, not likely, but as we said on August 22nd or August 21st, it wasn't likely that they would have gotten back into this thing then. And they did. I wonder if the Little Rascals, as they have been so affectionately called, I just wonder if maybe when they began this run of great play, it was like, hey, let's just play and have fun. We got nothing to lose. And then now there is something to lose, right? And it's just a little bit harder. And you grip the bat just a little bit more tightly. I think this is a question that Jeff can answer from having been there for the past couple of days. I know that Jake Berger said last night, and technically, he's not one of the Little Rascals, although he's also young in his career. But he said last night he felt like that maybe he was pressing, right? I think it's human nature, and it's hard to fight against human nature, but I wonder if that might have happened. Now, that said, Cody Freeman came through last night, too. He had a home run and a walk in that game. He had the hit today. Jeff joins us now from Houston. Jeff, and yeah, just as disappointing an outcome in this series as it could possibly be.
You're 100% right. You hear me?
Yeah, we got you. It's loud in the background, but we got you.
Well, I fixed my computer.
Nice.
Anyway,
nice.
Yeah. This and Jacob DeGrom, he met with us afterwards. He was not in a good mood, good spirits. Nobody was.
No.
Guys were sitting at their locker. They know what just happened to them.
Yeah.
Jacob said we needed to win 2 out of 3. He said we needed to win and give us a chance to. He squarely took the blame for the loss. He didn't pin any blame on anybody else. And there wasn't a lot to go around. I think the very first play of the game for the Rangers defensively, the long fly ball in the center field, I thought Langford was going to track that down. If he does, it's a different game. But honestly, I don't know how we missed it, but did. And that kind of set things in motion. So, yeah, not a happy place. The clubhouse
No.
here at Dyken Park.
Yeah, let's get into more of that, and I'll handle up on the first two reads, Jeff, since we weren't sure you'd be back. We've got more coming up as we hear from Jeff and talk more about that post-game reaction and some of the manifestations of what happened here. That's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, and I did get I got a note from Nicole today talking about the fact that Game Time still does have tickets. And in fact, you know what? Given what happened in Houston, the tickets for the final homestand of the regular season are likely going down even further. There were tickets available, really good seats available on Game Time for $24 for the Miami series. And I'm sure they're not much more for that Minnesota series. Game Time is such a great app. You go there and you get a guarantee. There's a price match guarantee. If you find a ticket for cheaper, Game Time will match it at 110%. Minimal fees. The fees are so minimal on Game Time. And of course, there's that technology where you get to pick your seat and see it. It's a 3D, visual of your actual seat. And so you'll want to go to Game Time, get a ticket for this final home series or one of the final two home series of the regular season. It's always fun to celebrate the team as the season comes to an end. And who knows, maybe it's just not ending quite yet. Go to Game Time, use the code DLLS, $20 off your first purchase at Game Time. And Prize Picks is our favorite place to go and do some of those fun, some of those fun activities with individual players, right? Is this NFL guy going to have, Jeff talked about it. Is Patrick Mahomes going to throw for 1 yard? Well, that's a gimme, and they're giving you that one this week. And it's all over the NFL and it's all over MLB. You can go in there and decide if you think your favorite player is going to do this, that, or the other. And, you have a little fun by putting a little money down on it. So Prize Picks is a really cool way for those daily plays. And so we would like you to go to prizepick.com, use the code DLLS, get $50 for free after your first $5 play. That's a pretty good deal. $50 right into your account after your first $5 lineup play. Go to prizepicks.com today. All right, so let's bring Jeff back in, and we will continue to talk about what the heck happened. I thought, and Jacob deGrom, he was throwing 99, 97. I'm sure he didn't want to dissect too much what exactly went wrong, Jeff, but it isn't that he's thrown too many innings and doesn't have any gas left in the tank.
Well, I wonder if maybe location and command are suffering as his innings pile up, because he just missed with too many spots. The Altuve home run. He said that he was trying to go down and away, and he ended up leaving a pitch up and over the plate. And it wasn't a terrible pitch because it was above, it was neck high basically. On Altuve, maybe that's waist high, but on most people, but it was neck high, and he just beat him to the spot.
Yeah.
He just the single in the first, the 2-out single, that was a slider over the middle of the plate. That was just a bad pitch, right? And really the pitch to Diaz in the first and then the home run in the fifth weren't good pitches. Diaz was the best player in the field all 3 games, I thought. Just had a great game. You saw the way he finished the game with that diving play.
No, you meant Pena.
Pena, I'm sorry,
Yeah, because I was going to say Pena had something to say about this.
Yeah, Pena.
There you go. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, and that last play was kind of a symbolic of the whole series. The Astros were just better. I mean, that's all there was.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that the rotation, which had led the Rangers this far, and is the reason why the Rangers are in the position they're in. The Astros got to the rotation. They got to the Rangers starters. They all gave up 5 runs. Leiter gave up more than that. Only 3 were earned. But the point being, the Astros found something that nobody else had found this season against the Rangers starting pitchers.
Yeah, and that's I suppose that's what, and I mentioned this before you came on, Jeff. It's one of the things that's so annoying, as those of us who follow these two teams fairly closely, is just that somehow the Astros figured out a way, right? Didn't they? Their best players in this series, their best players were better than our best players, and you need your best players to be your best players.
Yeah. The first inning, 35 pitches, the hard hit ball, the walk, the Correa plate appearance. That was tough. Correa was a tough out all night for deGrom, and maybe it's the familiarity. They had just seen these starters last week, Carroll and deGrom, so maybe there was something with that. I'm not sure, but it just didn't work out, and the timing couldn't be worse. The Rangers knew what was on the line. All 26 of them, the coaching staff, everybody knew, and this was the result. Now they and they have so much work to do now. Even let's say they win 9 games, they don't have the tiebreaker against anybody. And so I guess they do against Boston, but
and they would against the Guardians if
with
they
one win,
now. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just crazy that they're in this hole, and it's bleak, guys. I mean,
it is totally,
and it was going to be hard for this team with the cast that they currently have to sustain this. And for 3 weeks, they were great, and it was fun. But you're just wondering, when is this going to come? And this team has to do a lot to score a lot of runs. A lot of things have to go right, and it's been that way all year. And now with the personnel, with guys who didn't start the year in the organization, guys who started in the minor leagues, when you're like, no disrespect to Michael Hellman, Hellman and Cody Freeman, but when you're counting on them to carry your offense, you're in trouble. All right.
Yeah.
You're desperate and you're in trouble. So, we'll see what happens. I think I think the Rangers will play the regulars until, they get eliminated. And then when they do, we'll see what happens. Will deGrom make another start? If Seager isn't ready to come back, will they just tell him to go ahead and take it easy? Simeon, I know he's been working to come back, but why bother if there's nothing to play for? So we'll see what happens here. This Marlins series. See what happens. See what happens when the Astros and the Mariners play each other this weekend here. But it's I don't know. There's not a lot of left to talk about, John.
No, there's not. And of course, the Astros, still have a chance now to win the division. That'd be 8 in a row. They're going to make the playoffs. That'll be 9 in a row. They just somehow, no matter who they lose and how they lose them, from the Springers of the world, and obviously Correa left and came back, and Tucker and Bregman and Verland. I mean, all these players that they've lost over the years, and they just keep figuring out a way to get it done. They're not quite the Braves of the 90s and early 2000s, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, and give them a lot of credit. Maybe it's their advanced scouting. They do spend money. They didn't spend it on Bregman, but they've spent it elsewhere. They're not over. I don't believe they're over the threshold, but they're doing a lot with what they have. They have a lot of minor league guys in their lineup right now, and they're still getting the job done. So yeah, good for them. You gotta give them credit, because here they are on their way to another playoff appearance.
Yeah, and so with regard to the young guys on the Rangers team, and I threw this theory out there, and I don't know if you've had a chance to maybe get a gauge of this in your time in the clubhouse before. And and after these 3 games. But I wonder if maybe, you know, when they got here, it's like everybody's hurt. Man, we got nothing to lose. Let's go out and have fun and play. And then all of a sudden, as you know, it gets closer and closer to this point.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be darned. There is something to lose, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they just tightened up a little bit.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Though, you know, Freeman had a really
Yeah.
nice series. You
Yeah.
know, and honestly, the two guys who spit the bit the most were Kelly and deGrom. You know,
Yeah.
and those are the two guys who you would least expect that to happen. Um, it's just they might have woken up. They might have realized it. And I'll say a few things. I wonder if they should have bothered with Adolis Garcia. You know,
Yeah, I know it.
they haven't won since he's been back.
No.
Okay, they're 0-4,
Yeah.
and you know, God bless him today out there in right
Oh,
field.
unbelievable.
He showed a lot of heart going out there with a bad leg and trying to make plays, and he made the plays, but barely. You know, you could tell he wasn't 100%.
No.
But there's just nothing there, and so, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play again this season. And if he doesn't play again this season, has he played his last game for the Rangers? So
Sure.
those are things we're going to get to. We don't need to use all of our good material now, John. But
No, yeah, we'll get to that
it's
over the next couple of days for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And I agree. I mean, and we said it, and I'm sure the logic was, you know, Adolis Garcia is really good against the Astros. So let's put him in there, even if he's not 100%. And then obviously after game 1 of the series, Boat said it. He goes, yeah, he's not quite right. So he took him back out and didn't have him start game 2. Now, obviously, Adolis came through in that furious comeback in yesterday's game, and so, you know, he earned the chance to get back in there today. But I agree with you. It probably would have been better to just give him a little longer time to heal, and you know, hindsight 2020 and all that.
yeah. You know, and he, even though he's having the season he's having offensively, there's still a chance that he's going to run into a ball and hit one at
Sure.
least into the Crawford boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can, you know, can't say that about a lot of some of the guys on the team. So he might have been an offensive upgrade and worth the risk, you know, and because this, yeah, I know the offense has been better the last, you know, since August 1st. It's been really pretty good, but you know, this is a team that still has to work its tail off to get any runs. You know, you got to use the entire bench. Yeah, and you have to get lucky on these you know, the pinch hitters and the substitutions. And look, you know, when you use them like you do, as liberally as you do, the opposing manager can pretty easily put you in a bad spot, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how great you are. And Bruce Bochy is a great one. And what he's done, what he did for 3 weeks after all the injuries, it was really good work, great work by him. But the magic's run out, and it's not his fault. Okay, he's not playing with a great hand here. And yeah, you know, we questioned some of the decisions the other night, but
Sure.
you know, he explained them all, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, it makes sense what you did, you know,
100%. Yeah.
and
He thought all of
yeah,
them through, right? It
right.
wasn't like he missed something, you know?
And you know, and it's not just a moment in the time. It's like, well, if I do this, then in this next inning, I have to bat the pitcher, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you know, and how embarrassing is that to have to have your pitcher bat for the rest
Right.
of the game?
Right.
There are just
Right.
a lot of things that that the manager thinks about, that you and I and the average fan, and even the fan who thinks he knows everything, just don't consider.
Right.
And so to hear him talk it out like he did Tuesday, you know, after the game Monday and then again Tuesday, you really understand how difficult a spot he's in with this roster that is basically guys who underachieved greatly this year and guys who might at best be part-time players.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. So more coming up as we discuss, is there any hope left in this season? We'll talk about that and get to other things happening around the world of baseball. That's next It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we mentioned it off the top, but we would like to remind you to go ahead and join Big Brothers and Big Sisters in any way that you can. This is our partner. We're so proud to be with them. I hope you've seen the hit on YouTube that I did with Anthony Andro when he talked, our buddy Anthony talked about his little, who's now not very little. He's a 32-year-old man with a family, but his name is Freddie. And Anthony is so proud of the fact that he helped Freddie achieve the dream, the goal, the American dream of raising a family and having a really wonderful life. And Freddie says it wouldn't have been possible without Anthony. Freddie's mom said the same thing before she passed away. So anyway, man, you can be that, right? You can be the Anthony to a Freddie, or if you're a woman, you can do that with a young girl, and in many ways save them. It's so simple to do. It's also simple to just click that button where you normally do the super chat and give a little money to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters the rest of the month of September, and it's beginning to wane, but for the rest of the month, we're going to be reminding you about our partners and asking you to help us help them. We're looking for your support of Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Speaking of support, John, join
Yeah.
the supporters club. It's basically through YouTube. Our YouTube podcasts are free 5 days a week for 4 different sports, and then we're doing a Wings podcast as well. That's all free. But if you want more content from us, more video content, join the supporters club. There are 2 levels: $5.99 or $5 and $15. You get these icons, but the most important thing is you get a level of inside information and behind the scenes stuff that will enhance your sports knowledge. So go ahead. It's right on the YouTube page. Join the supporters club today.
Yeah, so what you were talking about has become so true. It seems like all of the teams, Jeff, that the Rangers are sort of battling with for that final wild card spot, because really, once Seattle had overtaken Houston, we pretty much thought, well, the division race is over. Now Houston's back in front of Seattle, and the division race is pretty much over. The only shot I feel like they really have is at the wild card, and the teams that they're battling with, Cleveland's now won 2 games in Detroit, one again tonight in Detroit. They're hot lately. Obviously, the Mariners have won 10 of their last 11 and have just now fallen behind the Astros, but that could obviously be settled or changed a lot this weekend when those 2 teams play each other. The Red Sox, they're sitting there too. They could, the Mariners or the Astros could pass them, and the Red Sox could be the team that the Rangers have to battle with at the bottom of that wild card chase. And I suppose to that extent, if the Red Sox and the Guardians are the 2 teams that the Rangers are battling with, at least against those 2. Again, the battle would be over if the Rangers don't win at least 1 against the Guardians, and that's all they need to do in order to secure the tiebreaker against that team. Of course, that's all they needed to do against the Astros too. So there you go.
Yeah, and I will continue to monitor the postseason standings and mention those things and in upcoming stories and podcasts. But the Rangers can't be looking at that.
No,
The Rangers have
agreed.
They just have to win games. They if they can go. If they go 7-2, I'm not sure they're in the postseason, John. They really do have to go 8-1 or 9-0, and how hard is that?
Yeah.
It ain't easy. I mean, weird stuff happens. You may run into a hot pitcher, and then you the Rangers are off tomorrow, so I think that's a good timing for that. Circle the wagons and regroup. But what kind of pep are they going to have Friday? They recognize what just happened to them. Are they still going to have the fight? I think the young guys who don't know any better, yes. Um, I just wonder. And I was trying to watch for this today. Don't want to name any names, but it seemed like there were some players who were showing the loss on the field today. We're showing the weight of the situation on the field. Again, won't name any names, but um, there were a few I noticed, um, and that's not good. That's not gonna help you win games.
No.
So everybody needs to you know swallow their pride and recognize that yes, there's still a chance. Be a professional, go out there and compete, and try to win these ball games because baseball's a crazy sport, and you never know what's going to happen. But you can't be watching the other teams and counting on them anymore. You have to take care of your own business.
Yeah.
And even if the Rangers do, it's still going to be really hard
Right.
to get
Right.
into the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah. They have to count on, even if they go 8-2, maybe they have to count if they're battling Boston and Cleveland. I think both of them have to go around 500. Well, they're both playing relatively well. I don't know that we can count on them going 500, even if the Rangers do go 8-2. But that said, finish the season, and it's not 8-2 anymore. I guess it's 7-2 now. But
Yeah.
finish the season 7-2, and then come what may. Right? I mean, you've done everything you can do, and if that allows you to make the postseason, great. And if not, that is what it is. So it's just a very, very interesting, last, at least this, Jeff. The Rangers, because of these little rascals and all that, they have made it interesting for the right down to the final, 9 games, basically the final week of the season.
Yes, and that it's a nice feel good story. Yeah, John. I was trying to find a scenario here as I was going through things, and I don't remember a season like this with me covering the team. And so I was going back to the Brian Jordan team, whether with Buck Showalter as the manager. I don't remember the year 04, 05, 06, somewhere in that that era where they generated a lot of late excitement. They came up short. This is before the wild card, or the current system at least, and it was that's kind of what I'm thinking of. But those were like young everyday players,
Yeah,
the Blaylocks and the Teixeiras and Michael Young and
yeah,
that group, and then Brian Jordan, who's kind of the football player and the
yeah,
motion that he showed and things like that. These guys who are doing this right now for the Rangers are young and full of energy, but I don't know that they're everyday players. I don't know that you should be penciling Cody Freeman in as the starting uh,
anything.
right
Yeah,
right fielder next
yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
I think the comparison, the best comp for him is he better than Ezekiel Duran? And I
Hmm.
think that's the role that he might be looking at least with this team. So it is exciting, but it may just be a flash in the pan. I don't know that these guys are going to be significant contributors for the next 5 years. It's the guys who are under contract or arbitration eligible: Josh Young, Corey Seager, Marcus Simeon. What's going to happen with Adolis Garcia? Is Jake Berger going to be the player that the Rangers thought they were getting? Those are the questions that have to be addressed and answered. And how many of those guys are going to come back next year?
Right,
You know,
Jonah Heim. Yeah.
Jonah Heim, who in 23 looked like, you know, lock him up because he's going to be a great catcher for a number of years.
Nope.
Adolis, we've seen what he is, and 23 was his career year, but this is more the. I don't think he's this. I don't think he's this bad, but I don't know, and so it's really like there's hope in Wyatt Langford. I know that he hit into a double play tonight. He strikes out looking too much, but he's still a young player, but he does everything. He
Yeah.
does everything. This is going to be his team very soon if it's not already. But the questions are these great the great energy and the fun we've had with the young guys. It's how are these old guys going to get better, and how can the Rangers get better, knowing what they have.
Yeah, because again, they still owe these older guys a lot of money, right?
A lot.
So it's not like any of them are going, and again, when we're talking about the Seagers and the Simeons and obviously Jacob too, and plenty of them. I mean, there's a lot tied up there. Even Jock Peterson for one more year, you're not gonna let that go away for 16 million or 17 million, whatever it is.
Yeah. They are stuck in some situations for sure. And, now look, Corey Seager's a hell of a player.
He is.
Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi are terrific pitchers.
Yeah.
Okay. You can argue whether they deserve what they make. You can argue if anybody deserves the money to play baseball, and I'm sure some old people out there do. The point is they're not the problem.
Right.
I would take Corey Seager right now, next year as the shortstop. He's going to get hurt. All right. So is Nathan Eovaldi. DeGrom having a healthy season. You hope it's the start of something really good. Okay, I'll take my chances with those three guys. But what is Simeon? Does Simeon have a rebound year in him? Or is he going to be a $25 million a year number 8 hitter who plays great defense? That's something you got to look at. Is Jake Berger going to figure it out? Can Jock Peterson lose 15 pounds this offseason or 20 pounds this offseason and be a productive player? Because there ain't no way you're trading that contract.
No.
And I don't think they're going to try to eat it either. So, is Wyatt Langford going to continue to grow? Is Evan Carter going to be healthy? Those are all the things that are hanging over this team as they enter the offseason, and as they, as the front office tries to figure out what they need, who they need, how much of it they need, who they want to get rid of, can they restock the farm system, things like that. So when we get to the offseason, this is going to be a busy offseason.
Ooh, is it ever? Yeah, it really is. And look, you and I talked about the need to address the offensive malaise and how it was, similar. And I thought today's game was just so similar to that, to what we saw so often this season. They scraped out a couple of runs there in the second inning, and good for them. But then there was just no spark. There was nothing offensively. The at-bats weren't great. And, they only had a couple of hits after that second inning. And we talked about it, even before we were starting to bury them there on August the 21st, that they needed to address how this offense is comprised, how it's made up. They need to get more guys who have ability to do things other than just slug.
Right. This offense is easy to pitch to. When they aren't hitting the ball in the ballpark, it's hard for this offense to generate runs. You need guys who put the ball in play and who draw walks. All right. Now, Josh Young, gosh, he is the hottest and coldest guy around, I think. But Josh Young doesn't walk. Okay.
Right.
Josh Young is too aggressive. Now, do you trade him? I don't think so, because there's value there, because it's not going to be an expensive first year of arbitration for him.
Right.
All right. Jonah Heim, the exact same hitter. Maybe not as good as Josh.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good. Yeah.
But, strikes out, free swinger. Do you want to pay him what he would make in arbitration, which is probably, 6 or 7 million? You can, if you got Kyle Higashioka for 6 million, I think you can probably do better than that with Jonah. So do you try to trade him? A young guy who's controllable, plays a tough, demanding position, has a Gold Glove. He's not unattractive, but teams have to realize that they're not getting a 20 homer catcher. So that's just one decision. But those are two guys who are basically the same hitter. Adolis Garcia doesn't walk a lot, very aggressive. Doesn't put the ball in play a ton.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. Marcus Simeon. All right. Now Marcus walks.
Yeah.
Marcus will take a walk, but he doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark as much anymore. Um, so what? That's four guys. Okay. Um, Wyatt has some things to work on, but obviously he's not going anywhere.
No, and he's been pretty good about taking walks. Took another one today.
Yeah.
I think he's got 75 or more for the season. So
Right. He's getting there. He's getting there.
Yeah.
He pulls the ball too much, so and he takes too many third strikes. So those are things he needs to work on. But he's the defense today's first play notwithstanding, the base running all very very good. Potential superstar, potential MVP candidate. Seriously, future face of this franchise.
No doubt.
So there, but there are guys that just aren't a fit, just not a fit.
Yeah, and that ball that Pena hit was a very, very difficult play out there. But you're right. When you get your glove on it, you really want to be able to catch it. So anyway, more coming up. Let's see what else is happening around baseball as we talk about some of the milestones achieved and things like that. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Hey, we got a big merch sale going on right now. 85% off. 20% off all city warehouse sales. So 20% off pretty much everything. But if you pair that with some of the stuff that's already on sale, you end up at 85% off. And that is a significant price drop on any item, right? It's worth buying the shirt just for that price. So, or the mug or anything else you might find that's deeply discounted on our website, which is store.allcitynetwork.com. We, of course, also have the new Dallas collection of shirts that include some of the great T-shirts that we've recently come up with, and those are all just really fun and really cool and attention grabbers, especially Nolan punching on Robin Ventura there. That's one of the great ones. So anyway, we are very proud of our merchandise. It's another form of revenue stream for our company, All City. And so we encourage you to go to store.allcitynetwork.com and get your merchandise at 85% off.
And that website, store.allcitynetwork.com, is where you're going to go to get your free shirt when you become a diehard member. Diehard members, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to alldlls.com, where there's all kinds of links to help you become the most informed sports fan among your friend group. We provide inside knowledge, experienced reporters. We have fun, and we make you smarter, and that's our goal. We want you guys to have fun, and you guys to be up to date with the most current information. Kamar Rocker, hey, he's going to start tomorrow in Round Rock. That's where's he been? Well, I wrote a story about that today. But you have to have a diehard membership to access it. You get 20% off future merch after your free shirt, and you get 20% off our events. You can't find a better deal in our market anywhere. So become a diehard right now.
Yep, great idea, and we encourage you to do that. So the Cubs, Jeff, have clinched a postseason berth for the first time since 2020. And, many of us kind of saw this coming, and in fact, there was nobody who expected the Brewers to do what they've done in that division, although we thought they too would be competitive, but not what they've done. And I think I probably thought the Cubs were in pretty good shape to win the division with all that they did in the offseason. They didn't do that, but they did make the postseason. So, they're coming back.
And good for the Brewers, because their manager 2 years ago, Craig Counsell, left them for the Cubs, and they have relegated Mr. Counsell to second place or worse in his 2 years. That's pretty neat. The Brewers have the formula for the regular season. They, as we talked about when they were in town, they They put together an unbelievable bullpen. They hit on the fringy free agents and the fringy type players and platoon players. And then they develop guys who can play their brand of baseball, which is, you know, put it in play, run the bases, hit for some power. All right. They're a fun organization to follow because, they've got it figured out. Now they got to carry it through into the postseason. Do they have a superstar or two who can carry them? I think Freddie Peralta, the pitcher who won his 17th game last night, he can do that. Yelich can do that. Bryce Terang is a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Jackson Churio is a great young player. So they have the makings of something there. And then, but the Cubs are good too. Being second place to the Brewers, you're a pretty good team. It's
Sure.
not like they're under 500.
Yeah.
The Cubs are going to be a potential threat here in the wild card round, and then see who they would face if they were able to advance.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to be keeping up with all of these different things happening as this playoff chase continues for the final 9 of the regular season. Justin Verlander, Jeff, was 1-10 like less than a month ago. And in his last 4 starts, his ERA is like 0.36. His whip is like 0.92. He's got 23 strikeouts in 25 innings. And he's boldly proclaiming, and he would have said this anyway, but he wants to be back for 2026. But you know what? Good for him, man. He said in about a month ago in a bullpen session, he just had something click mechanically, and clearly it's working.
I mean, this guy's great.
Yeah.
That's all you can say about it. He's a Hall of Famer. And,
Yeah.
if I were him, I'd take it to the house. His wife's Kate Upton.
Yeah.
I would enjoy the millions and millions of dollars I have and the young kids. But these guys that are great, love to compete. He might want to put his stamp on a few historical marks that he has coming up. I don't know what his motivation is, but good for him, and I really liked after the game 5 of the ALCS in 23. He gave up the home run to Adolis, and Adolis did the bat flip, and the crowd went crazy, and Adolis carried on, and Verlander after the game said, "I didn't mind it at all. It was the biggest home run he's ever hit, so I don't have a problem with it." Now, I don't know if that was true because you could say that Brian Abreu hit Garcia on purpose his next at bat. At least I think that's what Adolis thought. But I really liked what Verlander said there.
Yeah, have a little fun while playing the game. Meantime, his Giants are back to 500. They're 76-76, which is tied with the Reds and a half game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks, unbelievably. Diamondbacks are in that stalking position in the National League wild card race. The Mets have been leaking oil, as we know. They're the team that everybody's chasing. But the Reds, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks are all very, very much in the hunt and in the chase for that thing in the National League.
Yeah, and I think probably the Diamondbacks are the biggest surprise here.
Yeah, with what they did at the trade line.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd love to have Merrill Kelly right now.
Boy, no kidding.
But you kind of, if you're in their situation, you got to get something from the guy Kelly because he's headed to free agency, and they got they got 3 young pitchers from the Rangers, 2 who were in Double A and Triple A. Left-handers, so they're going to get every shot in the world. But the Diamondbacks, the top of their order, with in any order, Marte, Carroll, and Pedromo.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good place to start.
Yeah,
and they can carry a team as Marte did against the Rangers in Arlington. So that's an interesting one. And when they made the playoffs in 23 and went to the World Series, they only had 84 wins.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up in a big mess of teams there. I think the Reds were one of them. So that's definitely something to watch here in the last 10 games of the season. Conversely in our league, it's looking like it's getting pretty well defined here, especially after this series.
Yeah, it does. And, Arizona'd have to win 7 more to get to 84 again. But remember also, it went down to the last day of the season for the Diamondbacks last year as well.
It did, and Kelly reminded us of that a few weeks ago after a home start. Um, it's parity. It's that third wild card, bringing other teams into the playoffs, and so more teams are going for it at the deadline. And are more hesitant to sell, and then maybe the Diamondbacks are this year's Tigers. The
Yeah,
Tigers sold at the deadline last year,
yeah, yeah.
and ended up with a wild finish to get into the postseason. So gotta keep an eye on them.
No doubt about it. Shohei Ohtani has said he'd be willing to play the outfield in the postseason so that he could then be eligible to be a relief pitcher in the same game where he's played the outfield, Jeff. So I wouldn't put it past him.
I mean, he's such a great athlete.
Yeah,
You know, uh, how would you like to just throw him into left field and let him go chase down fly balls? I
right.
have no doubt he could do it.
Yeah, no
Um,
question.
but I think I don't think you want to do that to that arm. Why
Uh,
would you suddenly throw
right,
relief pitching on him?
right.
He got hurt and had the second Tommy John. If you remember the 23 WBC, who closed it out? Shohei Ohtani
Yeah.
against Team USA, striking out Mike Trout, throwing 100
That's
miles an
right.
hour and these
That's
nasty
right.
sliders.
Yeah.
Did that eventually lead to what happened to him? I don't know, but um, I wouldn't do that. If I were the Dodgers, say nope, Shohei, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good. You don't need
we're
to be
paying you
relieving.
too much money. Yeah, we're paying
Yeah.
you too much money to run that risk. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's cool
Mhm.
that Otani is always kind of thinking outside the box. I don't know how much of those types of things are motivated by that he wants to make sure everybody knows he's the best, right? That he's better than Babe Ruth or whatever. So I don't know. It's hard to tell because we don't know the guy very well. Juan Soto hit a home run today, 41 on the season so far. Jeff, he hit 41 last year for the Yankees and hits 41 for their crosstown rivals this year. And he obviously could still hit more, and the Mets sure hope he will. The Mets, I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, I can't imagine how vocal and angry that fan base will be in Queens.
Yeah, and I think some vitriol of their vitriol was directed early on at Juan Soto,
It was.
because he did get off to, I guess, a slow start for him. But holy smokes, he's been so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, maybe his batting average isn't great, but who cares? He's got
Right.
the 41 homers, the 32 steals, 199 RBIs. Uh, he's such a tough out. Has such amazing discipline at the plate. 920 OPS. He's
Unbelievable.
He's fantastic. He's Again, you can argue, is he worth that kind of money? Is anybody worth that kind of money?
Right.
He's a hell of a player, and every team in baseball would not kill, would love to have
Yeah.
Juan Soto on their team.
Yeah. No doubt about it. All right. So Rangers, as Jeff mentioned earlier in the show, off tomorrow. They will try to regroup. They've got the 2-3 game series at home over the weekend against Miami, and then Minnesota comes calling the early part of next week. They conclude the season the following weekend in Cleveland, and if there's more beyond that, we'll let you know, or you'll probably already know. But anyway, we'll see what happens, and obviously, we'll be here every day talking about it and going through all of this, and probably talking a lot about next year as well. That's all in the days ahead, including tomorrow at 1 o'clock when we join you again for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.